At the time of this recording, the Australian season of Dancing with the Stars has only really just started for this year. Among the competitors is Osher Günsberg, who most people will probably know as like a TV host on various shows. Um, he's also someone that I've followed in the context of his being a mental health advocate. So, one of the latest episodes, Osher had his first dance. And in the little package of footage that comes before that, Osher identified that he's had multiple hip replacements. Now, that is likely going to affect his legs, his lower limbs, and it might lead to some limitations with his legs. So, based on that definition, you could, for the case of this, say that Osher is disabled by those impacts of, of those hip replacements. So we know that. And then it comes out that the style of dance that Osher has been given it's the very first dance that he's done, is a style that's particularly demanding, if not the most demanding or one of the most demanding on the legs, which, as we've already identified, is an area for Osher that is affected by disability and impacts of hip replacements. So my question is whether that's that's equitable to give him that dance first up. Because I suppose, biased by my experiences as someone with disability, one of my first thoughts was, has he been set up to fail here? Um, and then I started thinking about, or wondering, how it could possibly be made more equitable. Is it a problem that he was given that dance to start off with? Is it a problem? Um, I feel like it wasn't the most equitable thing for him to be given that dance straight out. Maybe a little way down the line when he's not necessarily like completely new to dancing. He's had a little bit of training up his sleeve. Um, Maybe. I'm not sure about the Australian version, but I do know that over in the US, they've had quite a few competitors with disability over the years. They've had a few amputees. They've also had um, a person of short stature. Now, in that case, my understanding of how the Dancing with the Stars works is they match the stars to the pros through a number of factors, but one being height. So um, how disabling it was for that person of short stature, I'm not entirely sure. That matching process may have negated that song. Um, but in any case, they were there, they did it. And they've also again in the US had three different people who have identified as deaf. And of those, one won their entire season. So that to me says it is possible for people with disability, stars with disability, to participate in Dancing with the Stars. Um, so to bring it back to Osher now on our current Australian season, how could his participation be made more equitable? I'd really like to hear your thoughts, your perspectives. I'm coming from this as someone with lived experience of disability, yes. But as far as the dancing goes, I am a viewer. I am by no means an expert in this space. I'm just pondering, musing, based on the experience that I do have and the little knowledge, I suppose, that I've developed from watching the Dancing with the Stars over the years, the things that I've picked up in that time. How could dancing in this case be made more equitable for someone with disability to participate? In this case, I've been talking about Osher, but open to ideas for other kinds of disability as well. Um, and the dancing is one example, but there's several reality shows out there. There's The Amazing Race. There's I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. There's all sorts. So it also begs the question for me, how could stars or people with disability in general be enabled to participate? Is it a case of making things more equitable, or does it need to be, would that kind of contradict the purpose? Put your thoughts in the comments for Osher. How do you think um, the participation in dancing could be made more equitable given limitations, disability impacts with the legs? Or how in general could dancing be made more accessible for people with disabilities? And then in general, how could, participation in a reality show be made equitable for someone with disability or made possible? I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Remember, please keep it respectful. We're just talking about disability impacts and equity based on that, leveling the playing field.